One of my favorite things, honestly, my absolute favorite thing about streaming is the connections with the community, and getting to interact with so many people that I never would have met otherwise.
Everywhere I go, someone is trying to speak for me. Put up on a pedestal till it's ripped out from underneath. Staring at the surface, no one looks too deep. First glance branding, I'm so sick of being the girl stuck on a page. Just a book no one tried to read. The girl who's just a face, nothing more, nothing to give, but you still take. No, I'm not some picture to frame, and I won't be ashamed of the girl you tried to write.
Hello and welcome to the 206. My name is Marc, coming to you from Seattle, Washington, and this is the Twitching It Up Twitch Streamer Interview Series. Twitch is a streaming platform for gamers, singers, and all kinds of content creators. My guest for this episode is Katie Seto, aka VoiceUnmuted, a singer-songwriter from Toronto, Canada, who recently released 2 brand new original songs. Katie, welcome to the 206.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, absolutely. Thank you for being here. Now, first things first, we're here talking about Twitch. So how long have you been streaming on Twitch, and what was it that made you consider using the platform in the first place?
I will have been streaming on Twitch for 2 years in a month today,
Oh, wow.
actually.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, almost 2 years. And I had a kind of a funny way of making my way onto Twitch. So I kind of found Twitch twice, 2 separate ways. So back in August of 2019, I had started doing some singing competitions because I was trying to kind of get out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And learn to be more comfortable singing in front of people. So I was just looking into maybe if there were local singing competitions, and the only thing that was coming up was Twitch Sings. And I was like, I don't know what this is. So I downloaded Twitch Sings, and then then it turns out that you have to have an account on Twitch to use it. So then I had to create an account. And then I couldn't figure out how to use it, so I never did.
Gotcha. And
then when the pandemic hit in 2020, shortly before, so before everything closed down in March, I had started going to an open mic in January of 2020, and everybody there was really, really wonderful and encouraging. And it was kind of the first space that I had been in where there were a bunch of people who were doing the same thing, but not competing against each other.
Right.
And so they were just uplifting everybody, which was really amazing. But then obviously that stopped happening because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And a couple of them reached out to me and suggested that I try streaming on Twitch. And I had no idea how to do that. But one of them streamed, or was just starting to stream. And I looked at their stream, saw that they had streamer song list, set that up, and just went for it.
Wow.
I had only watched that one person's stream who was just starting, and that was it.
Oh, wow. So an interesting example to start off with. So that's fascinating to me. So take me back to that very first stream. Like, how much do you remember about those moments? And what were your thoughts and emotions as you're sitting there going, okay, I'm on Twitch streaming now? Like, what was that experience like?
It was mostly just confusing. But also it was well, in the Twitch world, you become very familiar with tech issues. Right. And my first stream was no exception to that. So my internet connection was not very good. I was streaming from my bedroom, which in my parents' house, it had the worst connection to the internet in the entire house. So all I really remember is booting up Streamlabs, going live, and then people coming into the chat being like, we can't hear you, we can't see you, it's buffering.
Oh no.
We can hear you every, a couple words every minute or so. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
But I just kept going, and I was like, okay, well, this is enough now.
And that's the thing too about that is, you can run into all of those issues and you can just say, forget this, this is terrible, I don't like it, or you can just kind of power through it. And it sounds like that's what you chose to do because it was something important to you. Now, again, looking back at that, I'll call it day one Katie, if you could give one bit of advice to that version of Katie sitting there on that first day, what would it be, knowing what you know now?
Check your internet connection and get an Ethernet cable.
Oh,
dang
wow.
it. Priority number one, make sure it's actually streaming and going through.
So were you using the Wi-Fi for that first stream?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That does make a big difference. So I'm sure day one Katie would have really appreciated that bit of advice. So thank you.
Yeah, day one Katie was a little bit naive as to the capacity of her bandwidth and Wi-Fi speeds. It's not not good.
From my experience, from talking to my fellow friends and streamers on Twitch, and then also from my own experience of my first stream, I think that's actually very common. I had internet issues and other tech issues and stuff, so it's I think we're all definitely in the same boat as far as that's concerned. So now, one of the things that I really love about your streams is just how much fun you are having. It just looks like you're having a blast every single time. So even, you talk about how sometimes you might not be feeling well or you're tired, but you have an energy that is very welcoming. And your community is also a reflection of that. So, you have some fun catchphrases in your stream, like what the butts, and, you have great channel point redemptions, like, the sexy face redemption and sloth Katie, which honestly those are two of my favorites. So, how did those come about? And tell me, what has it been like getting to know your community and seeing how it's grown over the last 2 years?
Honestly, one of my favorite things, honestly, my absolute favorite thing about streaming is the connections with the community, and getting to interact with so many people that I never would have met otherwise, or sometimes people who I do know, but interact with them in a different setting, which is kind of cool. So because of that, I think my energy, I very much feed off of the chat. So if the chat is kind of dead and nothing is happening, I'm like, all right, well, what do I do that? But if people are chatting, I'm just excited to see people there, and excited to get to meet new people. And I'm always very a little bit scared, but very excited to see what kinds of conversations might come up. And so I kind of just go into every stream having no idea what to expect, and going about it like a regular conversation with a group of friends. So I feel like it very much is just, it's a lot of fun for me because I'm just hanging out with a group of friends to me. So and then the channel points, I kept seeing other streamers with some channel points that were music related, and I just wanted to come up with something that was different. So the sexy face redeem is because I had tried a few different things. I had one overnight stream when I was trying to stay up for a test in the morning, and during that stream I had special redemptions to keep me awake, so people could redeem channel points to have me squirt a water gun in my face, or put my hand in ice water, or do jumping jacks or something. And so once I did that, I was like, I feel like I can keep some of the fun stuff. So I didn't keep any of those, but I did start adding new things that were just kind of fun and weird and had nothing to do with music. And the sexy face is actually from my friend, a fellow streamer, Cliff Stallings Music. He has this emote, this tier 1 emote that is him just making this silly face because he just pulled it from a photo that his friend took of him years ago.
Oh, wow.
And was like, this is a good one to use for an emote. That's hilarious. And it's that face. It's that face.
Right.
So I talked to him about it, and we were very close. And I talked to him about it and I said, how funny would it be if I made a channel point redemption to mimic that face? Cause he calls it like Cliff's sexy face.
Okay.
And so I called it the sexy face redemption. So, yeah. And he liked that idea. So, I went with it and people love it. And I love it. It makes me feel silly and more kind of, it's almost this comforting thing for me because I know that I can just be silly and ridiculous on stream.
Right.
And people are going to love it anyway.
No, absolutely. And it's a really good point too. It's like, that's not something you would ever like, talking about day one, Katie, again, you never would have sat there and thought, hey, this is something that I should do. But as you start streaming, as your community grows, just those things sort of happen and it just becomes part of that whole experience. So I think that's a great addition to what you do. Because like I said, it fits your personality. And I think it's a great moment for everybody, something that people look forward to. And it's you've also turned it into something that's really interactive in the chat too. Like everybody's like protecting each other and holding each other and all this type of stuff. So it's really fun. So thanks for going into that a little bit. And one of the things that you touched on too was with your community. And I remember I started watching you, I think it was maybe like September or October of last year. So and then by the time my birthday came around in December, I still didn't really know you that well. But if you remember, one thing I was doing, I was asking some of my favorite Twitch streamers if they would sing happy birthday for me. And then I compiled that into a video. So when I thought about asking you, I was like, does she even know who I am? I think you would recognize my name a couple times in the chat or whatever. So, but I was like, you know what? I'll just throw it out there. And you were gracious enough to do it for me. So I really appreciate that. So, and that's one of the things like I was talking about of how welcoming you are, and just and your moderators and everybody in the chat too. It's just a really great community, and one of the things that allows you to open up and really talk about some interesting topics that aren't just channel point redemptions or your songs or whatever. So one of the things that you do talk about is mental health and your own personal experience with that. So it's one thing that I wanted to discuss a little bit during this time. So with your Twitch streaming experience, what has been the biggest challenge for you when it comes to being a live streamer, maintaining that schedule and balancing all of that out with the rest of your life as well?
Honestly, my biggest challenge with streaming is that I always have, and this was a very big challenge getting into streaming as well at the beginning, but I am absolutely terrified of singing in front of people.
Right.
And the when I know, even if I can't see them, so people will tell me, oh, close your eyes or turn around, but even I can feel them.
Right.
And it makes me like, I know you're there. So it makes me really nervous, and I get all in my head, and I get shaky, and I start to have panic attacks. Wow. And on stream, I found that it's actually not as bad. And I feel like part of that is the virtual aspect. And then also just that I have this great rapport with all the people in my community, which is really helpful. And that I know that nobody's sitting there judging me and being like, oh, you missed this note here, but so, I mean, maintaining the schedule is, for me, actually the easiest part, because as soon as I set a schedule, I have this anxiety that like, if I miss a stream, or if I cancel, or I change something, I don't know, something bad's going to happen. It's probably not, but get it. I start to feel kind of guilty about it. Mm-hmm. So, I'll have days where I'm like, I don't really know that I feel like streaming, but I also know that once I start streaming, I start to feel a lot better. Right. Because that community aspect and feeding off of the chat, we like to call myself I like to call myself an energy vampire.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you absolutely feed off the community and the chat as it's happening. So it's interesting that you say that too, about how, you know, you're not wanting to do it and you're almost scared of doing it, you know, almost every time that you stream. And I feel the same way in a lot of ways as a streamer myself. And one thing I've equated it to for myself is going to the gym. Is it's not something I ever want to do or look forward to do, but I put it on my schedule. But once I'm there and I'm doing it, just that energy that you get. And once I'm done, I'm so thankful that I did it. And that's exactly how I feel about streaming. And it sounds like from what you're saying, it's the same type of experience where once you're in there, you get energized. And then at the end of it, you're just like, wow, why did I not ever want to do that? I should be doing this all the time. So
I'm definitely exhausted at the end of streams though.
Right, exactly.
But I do enjoy it a lot. And it's interesting though, because as much fun as I'm having on stream, I'm still scared to be there every time. And I still notice it. Like I'll have these little moments where I'm like, oh, I am very, very nervous right now. Or, you know, I'll get cotton mouth and it's just difficult to sing with cotton mouth. And
right.
I'm like, oh no. And then I start to panic because I have cotton mouth.
It all kind of builds up. But, you know, I think those things, and I can relate to a lot of what you're saying too, but I think those things are a lot more normal than we think. You know, just in any situation where we're putting ourselves in front of people, whether it's on a concert stage, a virtual format, you know, a presentation in school, whatever, there's always that anxiety. So do you feel that that's something that you're developing as a skill as you move along?
I think that I am slowly getting a little bit better at handling it. I don't know that I'm necessarily any less terrified than I was at the very beginning.
Right.
But I'm getting, you know, a lot better at managing it and finding other things to focus on. Like instead of being terrified of what song I'm about to sing, just talk to the chat right up until I sing it. And then I don't really have time to think about it. Right. Which is, you know, a little bit of a roundabout way of, I guess, more avoiding it, but it helps me kind of get through the fear part of streaming. And yeah, I don't know. I decided a long time ago, or I decided back in 2019 when I was first doing singing competitions or trying, looking for them anyway. I decided that I was going to stop letting fear be the thing that held me back. And I was like, I've always been interested in music, but I never pursued it at all. I was like, there's no way that I could ever do anything with music. Absolutely not. I will not be a musician. No. But I decided that if I try and I don't make it, that's fine. Right. But if I don't even try, then I have no one to blame other than myself for not even giving myself that opportunity to potentially experience something really amazing. So just kind of reminding myself of that, of like, hey, if your fear is the only thing stopping you from doing something, if your fear is the thing that's holding you back, then you're the only one standing in your way.
No, that's so true. And that's brilliant. You know, that's what I like to call wisdom, you know, so, you know, not just something that you learn in a book or whatever, but that's something that you have put yourself in a situation to where you're like, okay, I'm going to create this now. And, you know, you've overcome a lot of things because of those decisions. So, you know, it's a pretty fascinating and amazing that you're taking those leaps. And it's something that, you know, like you said, it's a daily challenge. It's not something that you've practiced for a while and now you're like, okay, I'm good at this now.
That'd be great.
Yeah. It's something that every day, and I say this because I feel the same way, but it's something every day that you wake up, you're like, can I do this? You know, should I keep continuing to do this? So, you know, I applaud you for taking those steps every day. That's amazing. Now, that also speaks to streaming being such a personal experience. And one thing I mentioned at the very beginning of this interview is you just put out 2 brand new original songs, which has to be the most personal of an experience that you can have. So let's talk about these two songs. So, the first, there's just released last week, called The Girl and Clean Air, which Clean Air was a bit of a surprise release as well. So, and you did some pre-release streams on Twitch to celebrate, the release of The Girl, and then, as it turned out, also Clean Air. So what does it mean for you to have these songs now out in the world, songs that you wrote, you created from the ground up, and people are out there now listening to them on Spotify or wherever?
I feel like as much as it's been, almost a week now that they've been out, it still hasn't quite sunk in yet. Someone came into my stream yesterday and they mentioned, that they'd missed me over the weekend, but they were really glad that they were able to listen to me on Spotify.
Yeah.
And it just kind of hit me like, oh yeah, you can do that now.
Yeah.
That's a thing that exists. So I feel like it's still just a very surreal experience. Because even if you had told me 2 years ago, when I started streaming even, that I would have original music out now,
right,
or ever really, I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, you're absolutely wrong. That's never going to happen.
Right.
I mean, at that time, I'd never even written a song. So now it's just this completely absurd thing that just doesn't quite feel real.
Right.
And like the fact that I'm still I'm working on new music that'll hopefully be out also this year is unfathomable. I don't know. It's just every aspect of it is so new and exciting and terrifying and amazing. I don't know. It's weird, but it's cool.
Well, and it's interesting too that you bring that up, that people can now listen to it whenever they want. So like the person said they missed you on your stream, so they could just go to Spotify and listen. And you've been singing, some of your original songs on Twitch for a while as part of your playlist. So but that has to be a really different type of feeling now. Like as long as I've been coming to your streams, people, including myself, have been saying, the catchphrase is Spotify win, is the question that you see in chat every once in a while. So that's got to be a great feeling now to be able to actually answer that question for people.
Yeah. I just have to be like, I have one now. It exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
It exists. So it's nice to have that answer. It is.
Yeah.
But it's also like I forget all the time. It's only been a couple days, so I guess it'll take some time. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange experience. It's completely insane to me how excited people are about it, and that people want to listen to it when I'm not streaming, or even that like Clean Air is doing so well, and so many people have listened to Clean Air, and I've gotten so much positive feedback on that song in particular. My parents shared it with their work colleagues.
Oh wow.
And they've been messaging me, letting me know that their work colleagues love it. And actually today, I don't know if I'm going to do this. Let's not get anybody so upset. In advance, I don't know if I'm going to do this, and I probably won't. But today, I was offered a gig opening for a band in Montreal.
Oh, wow.
Next month, because of Clean Air and The Girl being out, and it's so strange to me because I didn't even tell anybody that I was releasing Clean Air. I just was like, surprise, here it is. This exists now.
Right. No, that's amazing. So tell me, what is the story behind Clean Air? Like what's the topic of the song, and just how did you build the song?
Clean Air is a song that I wrote about my Twitch community. Nice. I found that the music community on Twitch is such this beautiful, supportive group of people.
Right.
no matter where you go on Twitch, on Twitch Music, you're going to find so many incredible people who are just there to uplift you and to listen to you and to help you even through whatever struggles, whether that be stream related or not. And it's really incredible. And my stream in particular, everybody has always been, even from the very beginning, very encouraging, very supportive, and very kind. And it's just this really wonderful thing that I really never expected to experience on the internet. And I had never felt so supported in my interests before.
Right.
Because I mean, I went to school for health science. Everybody thought that I was going to be a doctor, and then I was surprise.
Left turn.
But I had dated a guy for 6 years who made me feel uncomfortable singing in front of him, and I couldn't sing in front of him. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was, and even talking about maybe someday trying to do something with music. Like I probably never would, but I think that I could. And it was just like shot down immediately.
Wow.
And so coming to the internet of all places and finding the most supportive groups of people I have ever come across was just really amazing. And it was so overwhelming that anytime anything above and beyond people just showing up to the stream happened, I would just start bawling. I would just start crying, even if it wasn't on my stream, if it was on somebody else's stream and someone like gifted a sub or, said something really nice. I just would start bawling and I couldn't, it was just overwhelming. So I was like, I need to write this down. So I started kind of writing about, it's very much a song about like coming from this place of kind of darkness where you don't feel that support. You are kind of just sitting on the floor, hoping to yourself that maybe you can figure it out. And finding these people who are like, hey, actually we're here to uplift you. And that transition period, I guess, kind of being like, I don't understand. What do you mean? I've never felt this way before. And I've never had this experience before. Right. And so I guess it's about that feeling of like not knowing that before in that transition period of being like, this is really good, I think. And then I really like this song, that song in particular, the bridge, because I wrote it about my Twitch community, I wanted it to specifically be about my Twitch community and be clear to people that that's what it was. And so the bridge, there are 3 separate lines that just acknowledge specific individuals in the community who were, particularly generous at a time, or who were just really kind to me, and it made a really big impact at the time. And so there's actually 4. There's 4. There are 4. There are 4. 4 lines that specifically call out some people who are still in my community to this day, which is really amazing.
Oh, that is amazing. And all of what you're talking about really comes through in the song. Like it feels like like to use the analogy of the song, like a breath of clean air, as you're listening to it. And just that emotion that you're talking about right now is definitely embedded into the song. Now, on the other side of that, or not, that maybe not, it's not the best words, but just in a different sense, the girl seems more like a different type of a statement. So can you talk about that a little bit as well?
The girl, I have been very careful not to actually go into too much detail into the description of what the girl is about. But the girl is my angry song, my one and only truly angry song. And it very much has that kind of pop punk vibe, which it was very much meant to. I'm like, no, I want you to feel the anger.
Right. See, and that comes across also. It's right there.
Well, especially because when I first shared it, people were saying that it didn't sound that angry, and I was like, oh, it will sound angry. It's angry, let me tell you. But yeah, so I wrote the girl because I've had a lot of experiences in the past where basically someone will see me or meet me at interact with me at a very surface level and decide based on very surface level information who they think I am as a whole, as a person. And sometimes it's, relatively accurate, but sometimes it's, this image of some sort of idealistic person that I can't possibly live up to.
Right.
But I'll have, I've had people who just think that I can do no wrong. And I'm like, I am very human. So, no.
Right.
But, and so it's just, coming from that experience, I've also, when I don't meet that expectation in some way or another, it's like the chair comes out from under me. Suddenly I am the scum of the earth and I am a horrible person.
Right.
All because I was human and made a mistake, or I didn't live up to an ideal standard of perfection.
Right.
And so it's just about that, and being like angry that in those, when people do that, it's like I'm not a real person at all. I'm not a person. I'm not allowed to make mistakes. I'm not allowed to be myself. I have to fit into some mold, and just kind of angrily being like, I'm not going to do that. That's not, no.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is you taking a stand. So like I said about Clean Air, the girl is absolutely a statement that comes across, I believe, from what you're saying, as intended. So yeah, thank you for diving into both of those songs a little bit for me. And you had mentioned that you're also working on more music. And is there a schedule that you have for more releases, or what's the plan right now for that?
I wish I had a schedule, but it kind of depends on when things aren't quite done yet.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to have, so the next release will be an EP, a 5-song EP with a lot of my, older music that older, it was about a year ago, but
the classics from way back.
They were my first songs.
Right.
But yeah, it was a lot of the first songs that I wrote, and actually one of the more recent ones as well will be on there. Actually, there's a song that I don't play on stream. It's not in my song list. I have played it on stream a handful of times. I love it, but it makes me feel awkward, so I don't play it usually. But that one will be on there as well. It's called I'll Never. But yeah, so that EP, I'm hoping to have it out by the end of the summer.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Nice. So definitely something for people to look forward to. But I think the 2 songs will definitely keep people satisfied for a while. So now, it sounds to me like, just listening to your music, there's a lot of influence there from other performers and singers that you probably grew up listening to. So who is a singer that you really look up to and see as an influence on who you are as a singer?
I honestly, this is the question that I secretly dread the most, because I don't really know. Yeah. I listened to a lot growing up. I always listened to just kind of whoever other people were listening to around me, and I would just listen because I was there. I definitely, especially with the girl, it definitely comes out a lot. I definitely looked up to Avril Lavigne a lot. Oh, yeah. And so I feel like that definitely comes through with the girl. The first concert that I ever went to was actually an Avril Lavigne concert, and I was 7.
Oh, wow.
But outside of that, I'm not entirely sure if there's specific artists that I would say really influenced my writing. Okay. I definitely kind of whoever I'm listening to frequently at the time, will come through a little bit. So I'll Never, I feel like, sounds a little bit like it's, you know, more influenced by Maisie Peters, who's an artist from the UK who I was very obsessed with last year. And I went to her concert actually back in, at the beginning of March.
Oh, wow.
So not long ago. But yeah, I was listening to her a lot shortly before I wrote I'll Never, and I feel like that definitely comes through. But I feel like I just kind of write stories.
Yeah.
And I don't really necessarily think of it as songwriting. I just kind of write my thoughts and how I'm feeling, and then I turn it into a song later.
Okay. No, yeah. I think that way you get that inspiration and that real emotion, because you're just writing down your thoughts at the time, and then you develop it into a song. So I really like that. So I'm going to ask a similar question. You said you dreaded that question, but who inspires you that's not a singer?
That's not a singer. Who inspires me? That's a fantastic question. Honestly, I want to say there are so many incredibly inspiring people, and I'm very used to, you know, people getting that kind of question and someone answering, some sort of philanthropist or somebody who, you know, does a lot of good in the world, and I love those answers. But for me, someone who I find really inspiring is actually my Aunt Shannon. She's not my actual aunt; she's my mom's best friend. Okay. But so I've always called her Aunt Shannon. But she is just this, she's a regular person like the rest of us, started off with not a lot and, worked really hard to get where she is. And she doesn't let anything hold her back. If she wants to do something, she works to do it. And I said to her recently, actually, that so she is very much one of someone who says things like, I'm going to put it out into the universe. And I love that, because it's a great concept. Yeah. But we talked about it recently, because I have met people who will say things like that and just say, I'll put it out into the universe. If it's meant to happen, it'll happen. But my aunt is the kind of person who will put it out into the universe, and because she has said it out loud, is now something that she feels that, she is going to work towards. And you can't, and it's not, so she uses that not as a way of basically shirking responsibility, but instead taking it on, and recognizing that, yes, if things are meant to happen, then they'll happen sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to work for it. And that doesn't mean that it's just going to happen by magic. And it doesn't mean that there's not more that you can do to help that process, or to do more or do better in that. And she's also just someone who's very, very open and very accepting of people, of ideas. And she is very willing to change the way that she is acting, or the things that she's saying, if she is told that it's hurtful in some way, or that, it's not the best way to do something. And I find a lot of people are very resistant to change, or especially changing things that they've been doing for a long time, or things that they've been believing for a long time. And she's, obviously it's not an easy process, but she's open to it and she tries. And I think that's really amazing and inspiring. And I don't know, I look up to that a lot. Just someone who's open, someone who is actively working toward doing the things that she wants to do, and someone who is willing to change when she's told that something is wrong.
Oh, I absolutely love that answer, and shout out to Aunt Shannon. So, and just like what you're saying is the way she's framing that is she's setting it as an intention and not just something that, oh, I hope this happens someday and I'm going to talk about it.
It's not like wishing upon a star.
Exactly. Because when you actually say it out loud, even if it's just to yourself, let alone to other people, it adds a piece of accountability, which to me is very important in actually achieving what you want to. So especially when, we've talked about community a lot, if you say, hey, I'm going to do this to your community, you better do it because your community is going to let you know, especially the Twitch community, right? So no, I love that answer. Thank you. Thank you for going into that. And like,
it's actually funny that you mentioned that, like saying it to your community, you have to do it. I do that on purpose all the time. I say, this is going to happen on this day or at this time, because that way I'm like, I have to do it at this time. So that way, I'm not procrastinating as much, and I keep myself accountable by just telling people that I'm going to do something.
So no, I love that you do that with your Twitch community, because we know that the Twitch community, as gracious as they are and as welcoming as they are, they're going to hold you to it as well. So that if you say something, then yes, you better back it up. So so final question for you, Katie, before we wrap this up. Take a look back at your entire Twitch journey, everything that we've talked about, and tell me the first thing that comes to mind that gives you a feeling of gratitude.
Just my chat. As soon as you said the feeling of gratitude, just the first thing that came to mind was just people showing up. And, even when they, they can't stay for very long or they can't be there all the time, just having people continue to show up and being able to say that there are people in my stream today that were there the first couple of streams 2 years ago. It's really awesome.
That's amazing.
It makes me feel really, really grateful to have these people in my life that are so willing to give me their time. I feel like time is a very undervalued thing. We don't give enough credit for just time. Time is worth a lot. It's important. It's incredibly valuable. So it means a lot to me that people want to spend their time hanging out in my streams and chatting with me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think your community would probably, turn that answer back around to you and saying they're grateful that you put on these streams. So that's a wonderful answer. And I think a very, very honest answer. So thank you for that. Katie, I'm grateful to have this conversation with you. And, I'd like to acknowledge you for being an incredible singer. First of all, a super fun Twitch streamer, and just, really, to me, an impressive human being, just for, like I talked about, just for being how open and honest you are. So, it's not easy to exist in this world, and you're doing some amazing things at the same time. So thank you for your time today. Good luck with all the new music, and I'll look to see you again as soon as you've got another stream.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. So this is Katie Seto, aka Voice Unmuted. My name is Marc, and this is the 206 Twitching It Up interview series. To find Katie online, links are now on the screen and in the description below, or just search Voice Unmuted on Twitch, YouTube, and social media platforms. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and also check out 206.com, the official home of all content from the 206. Thank you so much. Be safe, and see you next time.